Hey everybody, welcome back to Expedition Homestead. My name is Ripley. I know it's been a hot second since I made a video. I've got a lot of stuff going on this summer, a lot of changes, a lot of stuff with work as well, but getting back into it, I want to make sure I get out a video at least once a week, once every other week for you throughout the fall and winter months. And then we are going to be back at it full bore next spring with a new schedule, doing lots of tours with other gardeners as well. So what I'm going to be doing in today's video is showing you what I've been up to in the backyard, starting with a brand new template. No garden beds to work with really, so I've got to do a full revamp of everything. Of course, I got the willow trees right behind me. One of the first things that I wanted to get taken care of this fall. I love fall for a lot of utilization of prepping beds for next year and then expanding spaces, because I don't do well in the heat. Even here in Wisconsin, it gets very, very humid, very hot, so I start sweating like crazy. So this is the time for all of the heavy work that I've got to do to prep for next year. So in today's video, I'll be showing you what I've been up to over this last year in some of these areas, these garden areas that I'm creating and building, so you can get caught up to where we can expect some new growth next year. So we're going to start with the vegetable raised beds that I'm building out in the front. And then we're going to go over the couple of different bed areas that I'm prepping with wood chips here. So we're doing, I always like to do like a back to Eden garden method. So get a ton of wood chips that I get for free from a local landscaping company, get them dumped in the backyard, and then stack up a ton of depth in the different areas that I'm prepping to create for next year. So let's take a look at that, and I hope you guys enjoy. All right, first off, we've got our raised garden beds. We've got two 2x4 raised garden beds right here, and then that one back behind there, the black one, I think that is 6x3 approximately. So what I did with these, I used the hugelkultur method. So in the first maybe about 8 to 10 inches, I put logs and branches and sticks in there, and then I did normal soil, gardening soil up on top of that with a little bit of organic compost mixed in between, mycorrhizal fungi as well, to make sure that the logs, sticks, branches, and mulch wood chips that I put in there break down really nicely, and I get a mycorrhizal fungi system that ultimately helps feed my plants, helps keep the soil moist as well, and ensures that I have a good harvest year after year. So the first year that you put in raised garden beds, I would never expect them to be absolutely perfect. The second year is really when the magic starts in raised beds. So if you start one off the very first year, don't expect anything amazing. It can do very well if you use the right soil, but ultimately can be an expensive process to do so. So don't get discouraged the first year. Second year is always going to be better with that. We did get a very good harvest of tomatoes out of here. Got a couple of herbs started as well, some oregano, some thyme, some rosemary. The rosemary that we put in here is absolutely decadent, extremely good for cooking. I always like to mix in a couple of different herbs with vegetable gardens when I can. Then on this side, this is another little willow that I've got planted here. We use a couple of different peppers, so Hungarian Wex pepper, anime peppers, which this one, I've got such good growth on it, I'm probably gonna try and overwinter it in the basement, maybe in our hydroponic center. So we are gonna get that up and running for the winter. Then we got some kale here. And then this bed right here, we just prepped basically. So all I've done with this one is fill it up with logs, branches, and then about 1.5 feet of wood chips. And I will be throwing all my compost in over the winter onto this bed and making some incredible soil with that. So believe it or not, this stuff breaks down pretty quickly. When you get the wood chips from a local landscaping company, it's not just wood chips, right? So you have all the leaves, all the branches, some pine needles if they got pine in there, and all that stuff breaks down super quickly, especially if you inoculate mycorrhizal fungi. So this has only been in here for a little bit and it's already starting to break down towards the bottom. So I do recommend, you know, keeping this moist, watering it maybe every once in a while, a couple times a week, to make sure that breaks down quicker. But that is the plan with this bed here. Now, one of my favorite things are apple trees, especially growing them in smaller areas. So we got a couple apple trees, a plum tree, and a pear tree to check out. I'll show you what I'm doing with them. We got a nice straight row. Look at that. I mean, I did a pretty good job lining those things up. We've got a Ayers pear right here, then a Honey Crisp, and then I think it's called a Wolf River apple tree on the end. And then back on the other side, right over there, I'll show you in a second, that's where we got our plum tree. So with all of these, I really do a espalier type of method. So really pruning them nice and tight every year, and then possibly putting in a post on this side, post on that side of the apple, and then growing them along the trellis to keep them nice and small, tight, and also get a good fruit production out of that without them getting too large. So once I got them into the ground, the very first thing that I did here was prune them up, made sure I had the growth going in the directions that I want them to. Dug a hole about twice the size in diameter and then twice as deep as the original pot, filled it up with gardening soil, some fertilizer, compost, and then several inches of wood chips on top of that. So did that with both these apple trees, same thing with the pear and plum, but they are doing very well so far. Home Depot had a deal on these bad boys for 20 bucks each, so couldn't pass it up. I was definitely happy to be able to get those in the garden this year. So it's going to be a great space for them as well. We are going to build more garden beds going this way, and then on the side of the fence starting right here, we are going to get some more garden beds growing right there for our vegetable space. So the backyard, we've got a lot of trees, so it's almost all shade back there, which is great for a lot of landscaping, perennials and flowers, but not so good for most vegetables. So we'll be utilizing this space right here for the vegetable garden. Here is our plum tree. It's called Japanese Methley. It's doing well so far also. I was a little bit afraid of the time of planting because I think I planted these in August area, so that's probably why they were on sale. Ultimately, it's not a really good time for planting, but they turned out just great. Everything's growing fine. Again, I did about the same thing with this one, where I dug a hole about 2 times as wide, twice as deep, got compost, some potting soil, and then mycorrhizal fungi in there as well for that one. And while we're at it, I'll show you the front of the house that we're starting to get the landscape beds ran up. So this whole thing right here, I tore out all of the existing dirt that they had. They had some, it was a really rough mix of dirt. There was some bushes in here and everything. Ripped those all out, and then again, like I'm gonna show you guys in the backyard, we do the back to Eden method. So really thick layer of mulch at first, but it breaks down into a nice layer of super viable soil as well. And so you can see just about how high that is. Believe it or not, that's gonna break down to about half by next year. Key when doing this is making sure that you've got mycorrhizal fungi in there to help break that down. But next year, we're gonna have all kinds of planting videos on getting this bed set up with our perennial flowers. There's gonna be all kinds of selections that we can use right there in the bed. So excited for this one as well. Then I've got to do the same thing to this. So this is basically what it looked like on that other side with a couple of different shrubs and bushes. So this unfortunately is really thick gravel. So probably try and get small little backhoe in here, tear this all out, and then do the same thing where I'm adding in some soil and then a whole bunch of wood chips on it. We did have some beautiful milkweed growing, which of course I left because you got to protect the monarchs, and bugs love these things. Then something I just completed here. So I got to do the same thing with the rest of this bed, but it is a total pain in the butt to dig up, but it's very exciting to see the changes that will be taking place here. What I did here, dug about 8-9 inches deep, added in 2 bags of this Kellogg all-natural raised garden bed and potting mix. Then I've got a couple of sedums, and then all of the other plants that you see here. These are all coreopsis. So they got a cute little yellow daisy-like flower, and they're gonna fill in that area. I'm probably gonna do the same thing with coreopsis here, and eventually over time decide what we want to grow, you know, in between the window wells and windows to get that all planted. There's a million different options, so maybe if you got some suggestions, drop them down below in the comment section. Today's video is brought to you by Grubterra. Grubterra has incredible options for chicken farmers or chicken lovers. You know, if you got a small little hobby farm and you really want to treat them right, this is the way to do it. I think 34% crude protein. It's got crude fat, calcium, phosphorus, and then ash in there, and fiber. So super, super good for your chickens. And then we've also got a very cool product that is a chicken coop refresher. This is going to release essential oils into your chicken coop over time, keeping it nice and fresh and smelling good in there. We are going to show you guys in a little bit, hopefully in the next week. We're going to take these out to a chicken farm and see just how much the chickens love them. But I've used it in the past with my chickens, and it was definitely a hit. So Grubterra, link is going to be in the description below. Let's show you the other garden beds and a small little pond project we've got going on so far. Here's another one of my wood chip beds right here. Again, this was absolutely nothing just a little bit ago. So what I did is took an edger, same thing with the front bed, took an edger along the entire perimeter, went down about 5 or 6 inches, and then just stacked, absolutely stacked wood chips in there. I've yet to 100% decide what type of plants I want to put on this side. I'm thinking of like a really pretty herbal / flower garden in this side, and then some standard perennials and flowers up over here. Of course, you know, being an electrician working with an HVAC company, make sure you keep your AC condenser clear. You want 3 feet of clearance in there to in order to make sure you're not restricting any airflow. Haha, hint, hint. We got hostas right there that were provided to me by a master gardener in the area. We'll be getting some more stuff here, of course, but then that side, drop in the comments down below. What do you guys want to see over in that area in terms of herbs and flowers? I'm thinking stuff that is just going to take over this space because we got a lot of space there and want to utilize it as such. So herbs for cooking is going to be a big thing this next season with our videos. Hopefully a hot tub isn't too loud here, but we're going to do the same thing with this bed area. We're going to be cutting down, edging it, and then filling it up with wood chips. Right now there's peonies and then some rhubarb that we're growing there. Back over here, this is our little pond project. So you can see, obviously the pond is raised above the ground. I was doing that so the plants kind of fill in and aren't overtaking the size of the pond because it's so small. But as you can tell, it kind of warped it just a little bit. So, you know, before I winterize this thing and everything, I'm going to go and dig down a little bit more here. And then I think I have to support the back side of it because it's opening it up and then pulling it down a little bit there. But this little thing is cute. I really like it. It turned out pretty nice for a quick little easy project. Over time, we're going to build up with rocks and everything and then get the plants well established in here. So this was just created this last year. So definitely need a little bit of work on it, but like everything, you know, just take a little bit at a time to get your gardening space and landscaping space, you know, up to your standards. I think something that's a little bit detrimental to the gardening culture is the fact that a lot of people think you got to go out and spend a ton of money, got to go to the store and buy a bunch of stuff in order to get your projects done, when that's really not true. Try and utilize the resources that you have in your backyard, in your area. So find stuff for free on Facebook Marketplace. The wood chips that you guys saw, that is all free as well. And then just put in a little bit of elbow grease, work it one little spot at a time, and before you know it, you'll have a great landscaping and gardening space. So now let's go and take a look at the willow trees. This whole space right here is to be created into a gardening bed as well, but right now I did the same thing over there. So I just put a ton of wood chips on there, kills the grass, kills all the plants underneath, and then we can continue to grow in the future. I didn't edge this one, so right now, just to stop that barrier, again, temporarily had some bricks in the backyard, so I'm gonna use those up while I can, up until the point where we want to invest in this area to actually make it complete. But all of these branches and sticks and everything you see, these are all willow trees. There's a couple of different kinds. I've got weeping willows and then black willows as well. But all of these, I basically just stick them in a bucket of water for a little bit, just like that. They're gonna grow roots, big, beautiful roots on those ones. These are just gonna stay in the bucket. I'm gonna see, this is kind of a test experiment here, but basically, then afterwards, stick them right into the ground or your pots, and they will continue to grow, guys. Willow trees are just that easy to propagate and grow. So the ones that we have in the ground, which are right there, right there, right there, and right there, those are going to remain. I'm going to make them into, so I guess, part willow bonsai, part propagation trees. So we're gonna use these trees as cutting centers. So with this one particularly, you can see how many different areas of growth we have on there. I'm going to continue to grow that around in a spiral, have one of these coming off this way to grow more shoots off of, and then the same thing with this one. The name of the game with these is to prune them back every single year. So imagine next year, this thing grows, it got sprout everywhere. I'm going to then cut it back almost to the main stalk in order to make sure I keep them nice and tight and small in this area. So then they shoot off a ton of sprouts left and right, just like this. And then by, you know, say mid-season or something, I can sell those and utilize them as cuttings, which then get planted by the consumers or clients or friends, just like you guys, like that. So these are curly willow cuttings that I've got down here. Those are probably gonna be put in the ground on the other side of the fence. And they're super easy to grow, super fun as well. It's really cool to watch them just explode with growth. I just put these in these buckets about, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago. The ones have been in the ground for just about a month, so wanted to make sure I had enough growing in them before winter, but I think all of them are gonna do great. So we've got a lot of willows growing here for a lot of cuttings for everybody.
And of course, one cute little rose.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, excited to get some more videos out to you guys now that I have these spaces growing. We're gonna have constant updates on it, as well as indoor hydroponics this winter. So it's Ripley Sartain with Expedition Homestead once again. We'll see you in the next episode.